Hey guys, this is the Schoology English lesson for Friday. I figured we'd go through it together. First off, you should be going to Schoology and reading the directions for Friday right here for remote learners. It says, once it's uploaded, watch the Screencastify recording of the author's purpose lesson and then complete the activity for bringing back wolves independently. Submit on Schoology when finished. Well, originally we were going to record this together and then post this for our remote learning friends, but it didn't work out that way. So I'm going to record it for you today, which is actually Thursday, and walk you through how to do this with a different article, and then you'll have to do it on your own. So what you'll do is you will watch this video and then click on the assignment, author's purpose. It says, watch the Screencastify, do cell phones cause cancer, and watch how the class, or me, fills out the author's purpose graphic organizer. Then, after you've watched this video, you're going to read through these 3 attachments, bringing back wolves, and complete the graphic organizer individually for that story. So I'll show you how to complete it for one story, and then you'll complete it for another. So I would do what we've been doing and open the author's purpose. It'll force you to make a copy of it. It says up here, and then you will share it with me and submit it on Schoology also, so that way you can get the grade for that. So share it with me and then also submit on Schoology. And when you submit it on Schoology, since this isn't Kami, since it's a doc, you'll submit it as create, and then type in there, I shared my doc with you on email. Okay. So here's the graphic organizer. It's called What's the Point? So we've been talking a lot about author's purpose, the reason for writing different types of literature or different types of writing. So they could be writing an essay or a piece to persuade you to do something or think a certain way. They could be writing a piece to inform you of something, to give you information, or they could be writing something to entertain somebody. So like Harry Potter or folk tales, those are usually to entertain you. Sometimes they have more than one purpose. So our job is going to be taking apart this piece of writing and seeing if we can figure out what the author's purpose for writing it was. So we see here that we have the topic, the type of nonfiction, and the point of view, information the author really wants us to know. And then we're going to put all of these 3 thoughts together and figure out what was the point. So did they write that to persuade us, to inform us, or to entertain us? On this side of the graphic organizer is going to be our evidence, because in 5th grade, we have to justify our thinking. So we're going to jump right in to do cell phones cause brain cancer. It's by Sutapa Ray, PhD. Our first job is to read it for understanding. Look at my hair over here. Got alfalfa situation going on over here. With all the talking and texting we do on cell phones, we could be in a lot of trouble if cell phone use caused cancer. Cell phones emit electromagnetic radiation, like microwaves, when we use them. Because we hold cell phones close to our ear when we talk, scientists worry that they may damage our brain. Scientists are also concerned that this damage may increase our chances of developing brain cancer. So at this point in this essay, I would stop and think about the introduction. The introduction is going to introduce what's going to be in the rest of the essay, the main idea. So I should look at the thesis statement like we've been looking at, which should state the main idea if it's explicit. If it's implicit, we may have to read a little more to see if we can figure it out. So this says, with all the talking and texting we do on cell phones, we could be in a lot of trouble if cell phone use caused cancer. Well, this is an explicit thesis because I know what the author is trying to communicate to me as the reader, because they stated it right there. They're worried that cell phones might cause cancer. So I'm going to toggle over to my graphic organizer, and I can identify the topic of this. Cell phones may cause cancer. Notice I put may cause cancer because that's the argument, and now we're going to need to read the evidence that supports that argument. I can also take a peek at this next section. What type of nonfiction this is. So you might remember there's two different types of nonfiction. We have literary nonfiction. That would be like a biography told like a story, or a real story about a survivor on the Titanic that really happened a long time ago. Or it could be a reference nonfiction, which would be like your social studies book or a newspaper article that was full of facts. So peeking on over here, does this look like it's set up like a story? With all the talking and texting we do on cell phones, we could be in a lot of trouble if cell phone use caused cancer. Cell phones emit electromagnetic radiation like microwaves when we use them. Because we hold cell phones very close to our ear when we talk, scientists worry that they may damage our brain. Well, I don't see anything about any main characters. I don't see this set up like a story. It looks like right now they're just presenting their argument and information about cell phones possibly causing cancer. So this would be considered a reference nonfiction piece because there's no main characters, there's no fictional plot that they would follow or storyline. So this is a reference nonfiction. And from whose point of view? So am I telling a story about someone else? He walked down the street. Am I telling a story like I did it? I walked down the street. With all the talking and texting we do on cell phones, we could be in a lot of trouble if cell phones cause cancer. I don't see any I's in this sentence. Normal cells in our body can become cancerous if they're exposed to high levels of radiation, because radiation can damage the DNA in our cells and cause mutations. That's why in May 2011, the World Health Organization, WHO, declared cell phones to be possibly cancer causing. Well, even though it's not saying I, this is still the plural version of first person because it's saying our cells and our body. So this would still be considered first person. Information that the author really wants us to know. Well, I think that we've determined that already, but we should keep reading just in case. But that's not all. Scientists who also know the blood-brain barrier that controls what goes into the brain from our blood can be damaged by microwaves and radiation. Whether the electromagnetic radiation from phones is powerful enough to open the blood-brain barrier has not been tested. If the blood-brain barrier is opened by cell phone use, then it may cause a lot of harm. This kind of looks like a warning to me. And it sounds like from the information that's been presented so far, that what do they probably want us to know about cell phones? Do they cause cancer? Are they harmful? So we're going to type that in here. Cell phones might cause cancer. I'm going to put in parentheses or be harmful. Okay. So before we answer this last part here and put all of these three pieces together, we really want to justify our thinking to make sure that we're on the right track. We need to have some evidence from the text to show that we're right. So if the topic is cell phones may cause cancer, most of this article should have information about cell phones causing cancer, which would mean the central idea is cell phones cause cancer. So far, our thesis does support that. It says with all the talking and texting we do on cell phones, we could be in a lot of trouble if cell phone use caused cancer. It talks about damage to our brain. It talks about the World Health Organization declaring cell phones to be possibly cancer causing. So actually, this right here, oh, for Pete's sakes, this right here would be some evidence to support our argument or to support our opinion that this is article is mostly about cell phones possibly causing cancer. So I'm going to paraphrase this statement. Who declared cell phones as possibly cancer causing? And if you are justifying your answer, you really should have more than one piece of evidence to prove that you're right, because they might have talked about this once in the essay and never talked about it again. And that doesn't mean that it's mostly about that. But I do remember down here when they talked about the radiation from phones possibly being powerful enough to open the blood-brain barrier. And if that's open, it could cause harm. So cell phone radiation could open the blood-brain barrier and cause harm to the brain. Okay. Reference nonfiction, first person. So if I'm making the statement that this is a reference nonfiction article told in the first person, again, I need to find some evidence to support that I'm right. Normal cells in our body can become cancerous. That magic word "our" shows that we're putting ourselves into the article. That would be first person. So I'm going to bullet this again. And I'm going, I already forgot what it said. I need to go back. Normal cells in our body. And I'm going to put this in quotes because this is a direct quote from the article since I'm not paraphrasing in my own words now. Normal cells in our body. And then I'm going to put an ellipsis there to show that really there could be more that goes to that quote, but I just cut it off at the part that I really needed to know. Okay. Oh, right here. Because we hold cell phones close to our ear when we talk. That's another example of first person. And I even put that magic word "our" in bold to indicate that that's how I knew that this was first person. And that's how I know this is reference nonfiction, because there's no statement, that there's no indication that this is set up like a story. There's no main character, anything like that. So we could even copy this thesis statement if we wanted to and use that as more evidence. Information they really want us to know. Well, if you look at the title of a nonfiction piece usually reflects the central idea or connects with it somehow. This one's pretty straightforward because it says, do cell phones cause brain cancer? So I'm actually going to use the title as evidence that he really wants us to know that. And I put, since this isn't a book, we don't need to italicize it. Since it's just an article, we would put that in quotes. Where else do we talk about how cell phones could cause cancer? Scientists wanted to find out whether using cell phones does indeed result in brain cancer. To find out, researchers in Denmark studied a large group of cell phone users over a period of 18 years to see how many developed brain cancer. They also followed another group of people who did not use cell phones during that time. The scientists compared the number in each group who developed brain cancer. In the study, the scientists found that the number of people who developed brain cancer was similar in both groups. This means that for both people, using a cell phone over a long period of time is not associated with developing brain cancer. These results should make us feel much better. Another group of scientists, however, discovered that kids absorb twice as much radiation from cell phones than adults because they have thinner skulls. Oopsie-daisies. Researchers found that children absorb twice the cell phone radiations in their heads than adults, and up to 3 times more radiation in their brain's hippocampus and hypothalamus. They also found greater radiation absorption in children's eyes. So they want us to know that cell phones might be cancer or be harmful. We read that I'm going to paraphrase this, so I don't need to put it in quotes. Children absorb more radiation than adults. And there's a lot of evidence to support that that's what they really want us to know, but I'm going to end it there. So what's the point? Let's put this all together. Cell phones may cause cancer. It's reference nonfiction, so it's full of facts. Cell phones may cause cancer or be harmful. We have a lot of evidence to support that we're right. So what would be their purpose for writing this? Let's look at the conclusion. They also found greater radiation absorption in children's eyes and as much as 10 times more in children's bone marrow than in adults. So kids still need to be careful and limit their use of cell phones as much as possible to avoid this danger. Well, the purpose of the closing, like we talked about the last couple of days, is to wrap up the essay and relate back to the central idea that's stated in the introduction. Usually the last sentence of your closing would be the final thought that you want your reader to walk away with. So this says, kids still need to be careful and limit their use of cell phones as much as possible to avoid this danger. Well, since this is reference nonfiction, I know that the purpose of writing this was not to entertain. So it has to be to persuade or to inform or both. Well, even though at the very last sentence, it asks us to be careful and limit cell phones as much as possible, most of this article wasn't about convincing people to be off of their phone. It was full of facts and full of data. You could argue that it has more than one purpose, but the main purpose, the overwhelming purpose, is to inform. I know that because this article was full of research-based facts, not opinions. If this were a persuasive article, it would be more full of opinions and they would have fewer facts. Usually persuasive articles give your opinions first and then have facts to back up your opinions. This was mostly full of facts until the very end of the article. So after we finish filling out this graphic organizer, you share it with me, boopity boop right there. And you share it with me, and then you will go to Schoology, and mine looks different than yours because I have Teacher View, and you will submit it on Schoology under Create, not Upload since it's not Cami, and then it will be done. But remember, you're going to fill the graphic organizer out for bringing back wolves. So there are 3 screenshots of this article. You need to read all 3 screenshots of the article, complete this graphic organizer for bringing back wolves, share it with me, and submit it on Schoology.